Welcome to Rambam in Depth. Today we'll be discussing the Rambam Hilchos Sanhedrin, Perek Shnayim V'Esrim, Halacha Aleph. The Rambam rules as follows: Shnayim shebo lefanecha ledin, echad rach v'echad kasha. Two people come for adjudication. One is a soft person, an easy to get along person. One is a tough person, difficult person. And you want to withdraw from the case. You don't want to get involved in this case. So the halacha is as follows: if you didn't hear yet their arguments, or if you heard their arguments but you can't sense in which direction it's going to go, and that in any of these cases, you're allowed to say to them, I'm not going to take this case, I'm not going to be involved. Why? Because there's a fear that maybe the tough guy will be held guilty, will be told that he has to pay up, whatever the case may be, and he's going to constantly harass the judge. So the judge has a right to withdraw from a case before he hears the arguments, or even if he heard the arguments, but he doesn't yet know in which direction the case is going. Once you hear their words, their arguments, and you know where the case is going, you're not allowed to tell them, I'm not going to be involved in this case. Because in the Torah it says, you should not fear anyone. And you shouldn't say this person is a rasha, is a wicked person. Shema Yareg is b'ni, maybe he'll kill my son. Shema Yadlik is Gedishi, maybe he'll burn down my storage of grain. Shema Yakatz is Netiyosa, maybe he'll cut down my plantings, my trees. So you have no right to withdraw from the case. Once you're involved in the case, you know where it's going. And if you were appointed as a judge for the community, in other words, you're not just a judge, but you're the judge of the community that appointed to be the judge, you're obligated to take care of this case, to get involved. As the commentaries say, even if you don't know yet which direction it's going, that's your responsibility. So the source of the Rambam is the Sifrei, and the Sifrei has a little bit of a different version, that the fear is he might kill me. And the Rambam deletes that. The simple reason he deletes it is he probably didn't have it in his version of the Sifrei. So there's a sefer shiur Rabbi David and Sanhedrin, and he says the Rambam omitted it because the Rambam held that if there's a problem of Pikuach Nefesh, if you're afraid you'll be killed, there is no obligation for you to be involved. But the problem with that is that the Rambam does quote the other part of the Sifrei, Shema Yaharg as b'ni, maybe he'll kill my child. So what's the difference if the killing is for himself or for the child? But the Bach raises the question on the Sifrei and on the Rambam, how could you say that he's still obligated to be involved in this case when there's this chash, a possibility of Pikuach Nefesh, and there's nothing that stands in the way of Pikuach Nefesh? So the Bach rules that when there's a suffix of Pikuach Nefesh, you do not have to be involved in the case. However, the fear is not about being killed. The fear is that you'll be harassed. In that case, you can withdraw. But if you can't withdraw once you know where the case is going. But if it's a real case of Pikuach Nefesh, then you're not obligated to be involved in that case, no matter what. That's the Bach's ruling. However, the Tumim, and as well, he quotes the Shevut Yaakov and others, the Sivas, they hold that even if there's a chash of Pikuach Nefesh, there is an obligation. So the question is, why should there be an obligation when there's Pikuach Nefesh? So you have to say that the Sifrei holds that as some Rishonim bring down, that is a mitzvah to be a judge, and Shlucho Mitzvah and a Nizokin. The Shlucho Mitzvah did not have to fear of being harmed. However, if that's the explanation, you have to draw another conclusion that just like Shlucho Mitzvah are not harmed, that's only when it's not Shchiach Hezeika, when it's not a likelihood that they're going to be harmed. But if there's a likelihood that they're going to be harmed, then it doesn't apply. So that qualifies this halacha, that if there's a very strong likelihood that your life will be lost, or the life of your son, which is the same thing, then you are not obligated to be involved. But if it's not a likelihood, it's a possibility, a remote possibility, then the judge has no right to withdraw because his life will be protected because he's involved in a mitzvah. We find a parallel to this. There's a question amongst poskim, if a doctor is obligated to treat a patient when there's a fear that he may contract the disease, if it's a disease that is communicable. And the Shevet Halevi, Rabbi Vosner paskins that you do have to. He has to take the necessary precautions, but the doctor has an obligation to be involved, even if it's a possibility that he could contract the deadly disease. And the explanation for this is, he doesn't give the explanation, but the explanation for this is, if doctors are going to withdraw from treating patients, then that will lead to even more Pikuach Nefesh. That's going to cause greater loss of life. It's like a soldier going into the army. The soldier going in the army, there's certainly a Chasha Pikuach Nefesh, but that's the geder of a soldier. A soldier's role is to put his life on the line, and the Torah allows that and obligates that in some cases. Similarly with a doctor and similarly with a judge. If judges would withdraw from cases because of a fear of their lives, if the fear is it's not inevitable, then they have no right to withdraw from that case because they establish justice, and if they don't establish justice, there'll be more Pikuach Nefesh. So the Rambam's ruling has to be qualified that if it's inevitable that the person is going to die, that case he would be allowed to withdraw. It's only when there's only a possibility that the person may get angry and take it out on the life of the judge or the life of the judge's child.